So I guess we're live. So hello everyone. Scanning here, Basketball Rewind, of course, and I'm joined by the people that I'm usually joined by, which is Coach Roach of Beyond the Locker Room. Welcome, guys. How are you guys doing? I'm sure you're doing better than the Raptors might be doing.
Wow. Yeah, I don't think that's a stretch.
Yes. Speaking of stretches, it has been a interesting stretch of games that we've had thus far. As people filter in, we'll kind of go through our usual recap and whatnot and look forward, and then we'll just kind of get into Q&A and we'll answer anyone's questions and go from there, which is going to be good. So I guess let's look at this week. We just played the third game of the week. And if I'm not mistaken, we played the Knicks and we played the Memphis Grizzlies. And so we actually had a couple Canadians, swing through in terms of game watching. And of course, we played the Hawks. I don't remember winning any of these games.
What are we up to? 9 games straight now or 8 games? I've lost track. 9 now.
10.
We're at 10.
Oh my gosh, 10. Okay.
We in double digits now.
They grow up so fast.
They grow. They do. Oh boy. Okay, let's just get us over with so the people can speak, get wherever they need to get off their chests. This is gonna be almost a bit like a therapy session, I guess, Casey.
I suppose so. I
have no comment on that.
No comment. Yes. I'll say this. It's just the kind for the week. This is something which it's like, it's like cracks in a fissure. Like when you see a fissure happening, it's like say something like an earthquake's about to happen, and they have the fault lines, and you can feel the pressure building up week by week, and this moment was coming. We've spoken offline, we've spoken online about this on this show, and I've said, and you remember you had some rundown sometime in late November, and we discussed, about this phase here in the mid to late December. I said by Christmas, it will be very clear and declarative of what the situation is going to be. I did not even in my most fevered pitch dreams of what it might look like, I did not expect this, for it to crumble this quickly. The defense, and it goes back to something, it's like, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. And, it's funny, as the last few minutes of this game's going by, they got all the kids in there. I said to myself, I remember folks telling us, at the beginning of the year, guys, just wait. Wait when the vets get in. Just wait. It'll turn around when the vets come. And last time I checked, I see Boucher getting minutes again. I see Kelly Olynyk getting his typical time. We have Bruce Brown sighting tonight. And even Yak came back here for the fun. And I still see almost 140 points dropped on this. And they were doing, and quite honestly, Atlanta was doing that in cruise control. Atlanta wasn't even trying to get the 140. Old boy over there, Quinn Snyder's over there, like just resting number 11 for extended periods. He wasn't even trying to push the throttle, to use a racing term. He was like, yeah, we'll just drop it down a few gears tonight. So, you throw the Knicks game, where you can see impending doom, and I don't know. The Memphis game might be a whole podcast for itself. That might be for the After Dark show for the Memphis one, so I'll leave that one, Coach.
I mean, it's like one of those things where it's the holiday season. There's a lot going on with a lot of people, whether it's good or bad or whatever. Or ugly, I guess, because holiday season can be tough. And sometimes it's like, well, no, I'm saying that I didn't want to do an emergency pod for the Memphis game.
Oh, hell no.
So
that bad,
no. So, Coach, your thoughts. Then we're gonna look at the week ahead, and then we're gonna get to the things that people wanted to get to.
Yep.
I'm seeing some of the things in the comments about, well, what did you expect this year from a team like this? I'm not so much disagreeing with their point. It's how they're losing the last few games. It's bad. Like, the Memphis game, giving up 155 points, giving up 136 points to Atlanta at home is beyond Sid with Pirtle back, with Bruce Brown back. It's not so much them losing, it's how they are losing. They're giving up 144 points on average in the last 2 games. That's a lot. And you just kind of wonder, and I had tweeted this out, are the players really tuning out the coaching staff now? Because lack of execution offensively, it's not there. The lack of D-train. Defensive transition, I think Sampson had did a show on how the defensive transition, at least for most of the year, has actually been pretty good. Lately, it's been bad. It's been real bad lately.
Yeah, and just to clarify my point, I'm not suggesting in this case here I think we are agreement, but I think we're slightly different. I did expect this. My only difference is I expect this maybe about a month or so from now. I expect in this case, I expect it to be like the next day, and it's like, holy smokes. Like, I thought this might be a late January, early February. Folks think they're going to start packing their bags for the trade deadline. Right.
It's like sometimes you just want to let things ruminate and enjoy it. Right. You get to enjoy it, right? So all of a sudden you come home and it's like Troy from Community, for those of you who know, where he comes back with the pizza boxes and everyone's like fighting, the house is on fire. It's just like, he's just like, oh, hey guys. It's just like out of nowhere.
No, you were marinating the stuff for the black cake, since we're in that type of season. This case.
Yeah, no, that too. That's a good point. Good point. I mean, we were talking about Mobby and South and stuff like that earlier. So
is that also rum cake?
Exactly, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I had some earlier.
Nice.
That's a good way to pass the time, man. When you're watching this team, no two ways about it.
Need more rum in the cake, though.
Yeah. You do need that sometimes.
Watching these guys.
So let's just quickly look at the week ahead. Just get right into it. Again, we didn't win a game. For those of you who have been living under a rock, we're 0-10 now in the past 10 games. I think the Raptors losing streak is 13, so we're actually getting close to the losing streak as well.
I thought they had 14 last year.
Was it 14? I thought it was 13.
It was 14.
I'll have to look this up later.
Yeah, it is 14 last year.
We're not that far off.
So wait, so you're telling me that Darko in this case could be like the holder of 2 of the longest streaks in Raptor history for losing?
He holds the belt, man.
He holds the belt and the runner-up too, possibly. Wow.
Sorry,
Impressive.
if you're a Darko fan, fair enough. I'm just saying. I'm just telling you what it is. Okay, if you're a stats guy, the stats don't lie. We have not been good right now. And
I would have guessed Daryl Walker or Brendan Malone
No, Brendan Malone had them boys playing hard, man. Like them boys, even right down the end, man. That first season, man.
So we play the Celtics next on Tuesday.
Good luck with that.
And then we play the Nets. Shout out to Jordy, who just keeps on winning. And then we finish off the week on Friday in Orlando. So we actually have like 3 games close together, very short order here. I don't see a win out of those, but what do you guys think?
Ditto.
I think the culture of losing has really set in now, and you kind of wonder when that next win is coming.
17. Thank you so much, by the way. 17.
Yes. Okay, yes. So it's
that's a rough one.
That's the Daryl Walker year, which would make sense. Yes.
Yes. So, okay. So we've gone through that. Let's just jump into it. I do want to say one thing. This has nothing to do with the games. Sportsnet did a show, part 1 of a show about like the beginning of the Raptor series. Oh, I don't have the book near me, but I want to shout out Alex Wong's book, so it kind of coincides with that book. I don't think. Yeah, prehistoric. For those of you, I mean, I'm not a sponsor or anything, but it's a good read so far. So, but I feel like that documentary. I don't know if either of you have seen it. I feel like they've missed out on a couple things. Like,
I live.
Well, no, but it's like they were like kind of. They had everyone there except for like some of the key players. And so they had these guys like dogging Isaiah Thomas really hard. And then it's like Isaiah Thomas isn't around. I was like, a little weird, right? So
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot
it
of
didn't
bad
feel right.
blood. Yeah, I mean, like if I recall, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, but Bito was an Isaiah guy, pretty much to
Yeah,
the end,
Yeah.
right?
that's
And
that's
that
that's
was
what I'm
his
getting the
guy.
sense of.
Yeah, and it wasn't quite with some of the other folks went. So I think it was the teachers' pension, the MLSC guys got involved.
Yeah,
It was a different ball game in this case here. I always thought that that Isaiah actually is a better. I think he's a fantastic evaluator talent.
yes,
He is
Yes.
unreal. I mean, he doesn't get enough credit for that. Everyone goes to him as a coach. He's an okay coach in this case here, but and sometimes I think his biggest problem was, and you find this a lot with star players. You saw it with Magic Johnson, because of their greatness, they want things to happen now, and they can't wait. And that's the reason why a lot of times they don't end up being good coaches, and they definitely don't. A lot of times they don't end up being good GMs or executives. Of course, there's exceptions like Jerry West, but a lot of them are not quite like that. They're just not wired like that.
we are 1-14 for the past month.
Wasn't New Orleans the great win?
Yes. That was where everyone was like, "This is it. We
Yes,
can make the play in."
The New Orleans team beat, and folks are going crazy. I'm like, dude, it's like the New Orleans. I don't know what you want to call them, man. Seagulls or whatever the hell they call themselves. Like, what are we doing? The Baton Rouge Pelicans.
Pelicans could be pretty vicious, I've heard. So it wasn't no. It wasn't no
Well, them
Pelicans.
Pelicans, to tell you that much.
Oh man. So yeah. So we're gonna just start answering some of the comments and stuff like that. But yeah, the Bitoff stuff. It was interesting to see, but it was actually also unfortunate. I guess Isaiah didn't get back to them, and T Mac didn't get back to them. But I feel like when you're literally the guy say he's a piece of work, and then the next day it's like an empty seat, it just doesn't feel right.
No,
so that's all I wanted. It felt a little like they could have done a better job on the editing side. So I'm just gonna go back a bit. It was the coach's fault. There's a lot of bad things, man. Right now, it's like a sinking ship. It's like you're on the Titanic, right? You're going down and you're holding onto the railing, and then this one dude from the band, he pulls out this little like the equivalent of what you put your milk in, the bagged milk, and he starts bailing out water.
All right, I'm gonna throw here.
Milk jug ain't gonna do much.
I'm gonna throw some fan fiction here, man. I'm gonna throw this out here for all the folks that I'd be too tough on Masai. Let me throw this out here. Could this just be part of the great plan by Masai, where he just was going to sabotage this season one time already? There is some breadcrumbs.
Okay, there's a level of that, but even still, then it's sometimes you end up accidentally overdoing it, and so. All of a sudden you come back and you're like, well, I just wanted a little small bonfire, and half of BC is burning down. Right?
I think he wanted it. I think it's like what the Joker said in this case here, the chaos.
Some men just want to watch the world burn, or I think that was Alfred actually.
That's Alfred, right? Alfred said so, right? Yeah,
that was Alfred.
I think there is some of that going on here because we sat there in the off season. I told folks in this case here, as well as you did, all three of us in spaces, if this team is essentially coming back the same team, based on who's on the roster, how are you expecting this team to get better defensively? Because this bunch here, at best, you have a couple mediocre defenders, and the rest are pretty much below average to actually horrendous. So I don't know how you expect to do so. Everyone's like, "Oh, Darko, coach him up." To be fair to Darko, you can't coach certain things up. Kelly Olynyk is what Kelly Olynyk is. Right?
Yeah.
We just saw it there. We saw it in the Olympics in Paris. The dude was on a milk carton by about game 3. Okay. Like Jordy looked around, like, oh no, this ain't working. All right, take my chances with Trey Lyles. We're good.
Like at one point we were still like, can we call up Edie?
Right.
Can we get Edie? Like, can we make a deal, phone a friend with the Memphis Grizzlies?
Can we get Capingelli on the team? That's what we're getting to right now, right? That's sad.
Yeah, and it's like you go from that, and then people saying that suddenly like that defense is going to transfer over, which you don't want it to transfer over anyways from the Olympics.
And just for those folks who are saying so in this case here, I think Kelly's been playing center for the most part the last 2 games, right?
Sorry,
How's
this
that
is
work
fun.
out for you,
I'm
folks?
just cracking up with some of the content. Sorry, what did you say?
The comment that was raised, though, I think it
It's like
was.
soul, JD. If you watch that with your kids, it's like soul.
Oh, it was Matt Stevens. It was the coach fault. I'm not sure if he was responding. I think he said that when I was talking. What I meant was, I just wonder if the players, and I know a lot of this is the vets, honestly. It's not really the rookies. Rookies, they're doing what rookies do. They actually work hard, but they're learning and not that skilled, quite frankly. Most rookies, anyway. I'm just, when a culture of losing sets in, I think the vets really can get impacted by it. Because it's like they want to win, they want to value their prime, and that can really have a trickle over effect, I think. So I do wonder if, they're starting to tune out this coaching staff a bit. I'm not saying so much just Darko, because this ain't just Darko. This is everybody.
Yeah, this is a systemic issue.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, what did Darko say? He said he got ejected from the game to fight for his guys, and also he literally said to light a fire up under their keister, basically. And did that happen? It didn't happen last game. They didn't respond good today. They had an extra 80-minute film session. I heard some people say, "Oh well, Darko's trying to lose." I don't think Darko's trying to lose.
No coach is trying to lose, man. I'm no fan of Darko, but no coach is trying to lose.
It's true.
Okay?
Like,
I agree with Will said so.
Darko is not trying to lose. He's not purposefully taking the team. Like, he might be prioritizing development, but he's not trying to lose. He might be losing his mind.
I make the joke sometimes about this no timetable tank season. This team is not tanking. They are what they are.
Yes.
We said that back in October.
People got mad at us. Remember, people got mad at us, so they said, you're not real fans. I was like, listen, I'm not rooting for them to tank. I just don't think that they're good.
I hate tanking. I don't like it at all. But this team, it's just kind of how you're too small at the guard spot. You're too small at the wing spot. You have one guy over 7 foot. One.
Hey, man, I said before, and my point was with the Messiah joke and doing the fan fiction is like, if I was being the most liberal and the most kindest to what I'm seeing here, is like, okay, maybe this was the plan to burn it down and just put like this mishmash roster together, to Coach's point, to get the picks that were just mentioned in the comments. Yeah, to be in the mix in 2025 and 2026. That is the generous one. But to Will's point and to others, I don't think they were trying to tank. I actually think they were coming in to be at least a scrappy team and see what happens.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I sit here and look at myself and look at the roster. I'm sitting there going, you expect this roster to be doing what? And I told you guys 3-4 weeks ago when at the back-to-back with Miami, I said the way that would mess up if you're on Team Tank or Capture the Flag campaign like some of us are, let me tell you something. The way that they would get out of it, and it's the scariest way, I hope in some ways they didn't catch on to it, but the injuries they fell into it, is the coach's point, play the kids. Because the kids in this, that's what's going to get them out of this rut. Because I had a feeling this was going to happen when you start getting the vets back. The vets are what they are.
I agree. Now, there's a couple comments that I've missed, so I'm going to kind of come back. Don't worry. If I miss your comment, I will try my best to get through it. So this is no particular order, but the first thing that I see is, do the Raps players, Mitchell, Boucher, does anyone want our stuff? I'll actually start with Coach.
Yeah.
Go, Coach.
I think Pirtle has value. I don't see Masai wanting to get rid of him. I think they see him more long-term as well. I just mean the rest of his contract. Brown, none right now. He's going to have to start playing, and now he played all right tonight, which was good to see. He moved well. I think that was my biggest thing I'm looking for. After knee surgery, you don't know, but now that you actually get to see it, Bruce Brown moved really well tonight. Mitchell can't shoot. I guess plays defense. Boucher, decent contract, but what are you going to get for these guys? Most of the players that you just mentioned, you're getting seconds for. Pirtle, you might get a first.
Okay, I'm going to ask the question beyond, but I'm going to shift it. Who is the most movable guy on this list.
Oh, that's easy. Yeah, that's easy. That's Boucher.
Yeah.
He's been like that for the last year and a half, and they won't move him. I don't understand. He's sitting there, as coaches said, it's the best contract of all the four.
Maybe Mitchell's though, because he's making $6 million. He's cheaper.
True, he's making $6 million. So the contracts are I guess I'd like to compare the contract with the value you're getting back.
Yeah,
Mitchell's the guys can get thrown in with one of the other guys for a deal. You're not having a deal for Mitchell by himself. I'm sorry, folks, you're not.
The other thing too is that Mitchell has the restricted free agent rights as well, which for some teams actually does matter, especially if you are, say, a random contending team that wants to remain cheap, but also have some sort of, I hate using these terms, but control over the guy's contract. Then Mitchell provides that, but also you would have bird rights with Boucher. The problem with Brown, you trade for him, you're not even getting bird rights.
Nope.
So you can't go over the cap to re-sign him either. And that's the other challenge here with Brown's contract. Now, we didn't give him that original contract. The Pacers gave him that original contract. We opted into his deal, but yeah.
And one last thing, I think the Brown and Pirtle, there's a PR element to it that I think has the Raptors nervous, because the point that coach has mentioned about Pirtle, there's going to be expectation. People think we get a first-round pick for Pirtle. I'm going to tell you this for now, folks. You're not getting a first-round pick for Pirtle. You are not. Because when Pirtle gets traded, and whenever the time comes, he will be playing coming off of someone's bench. He will not be started. And they're going to give him – they're going to give us stuff as if he's a bench player, not a starting center.
So James asks, who's going to win the next game, Raps or Nets? Well, before we even face the Nets, it's a good question, but before we face the Nets, we got to face the Celtics first. So it depends how much the backside hurts. My guess is it's hard to tell. I actually think the Nets. We should talk about the Nets deal at some point that they made today, because it was a pretty good deal. But I don't know, actually. I still lean towards the Nets. That's what I lean towards. That the Nets will probably win that game. Any of you want to chime in before we get to the next thing?
I don't think there's a discussion. Nets are going to roll these dudes.
Yeah.
If they don't win this game, I don't know when the losing will stop.
You're right. That is the only. You're right. We went through the schedule last week, and we just went through it. I think we had our friend Mouse in the North who would give us the January schedule. You think it's snowy now, boys? A blizzard
like
coming
the
in
Bucks, the Celtics again. It's like here, like
right.
As they say, a 2-piece and a biscuit.
Yeah, it's like, man. To coach's point, you don't get the Nets. I don't know when this losing streak stops.
Thoughts on sending Bruce Brown to Memphis? I think Memphis has now emerged as a suitor just because they were looking for Dorian Finney-Smith, and they're in a situation financially where Bruce Brown helps them because they can kind of like keep their books kind of clean in the future because of his contract, and they might be one of the only teams that can try to cobble together some sort of form of stuff. But I don't really. I don't see a very reasonable deal from their end that makes sense. So that's where I'm at.
Coach,
Gigi's coming back soon. Why go get Bruce Brown?
Never fear, Gigi's here.
Never fear.
Is he actually
here? No, I mean, I think he's practicing, or he's coming back soon. You'll probably see him back in the new year. I'm
happy for him.
I don't know if I'm Memphis because Masai's probably going to want a first from Memphis, and if I'm him, I'd ask for it too.
Can we ask for Gigi? Just kidding.
You had to bring that up again from draft night.
Yeah,
it would be the worst.
How we could not get into the early second round to get him.
Yeah.
The values change, right? He was a second round draft pick now. Now you make the deal now. You treat him like a first round draft pick. It's like, hell no, we're not giving up GG.
Yes. James is into the tank. Love it, James.
All right. Get your sunglasses. Get your suntan lotion. Enjoy, man.
I look at Scotty similar to how I look at Vlad. Oh, is he talking about
Vladdy? Yeah.
Okay. So Guerrero.
You know what? I almost feel a little insulted if you're a Vlad fan, because with all due respect to Scotty, I
No,
don't
but
know.
didn't Vlad have a good year? I'm not a big
That's what I'm
He-
saying.
baseball person.
He's talking about the team more so, I think.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, got you. Like management and stuff like that.
Mm.
Okay.
I don't know if I don't think the same weight for the two of them in this case here. Like I understand the comp a little bit, but like yeah, I don't see I wouldn't put the two in the same category
Yeah.
by my
Okay,
Vladdy is a better baseball player than Scotty is a basketball player. I would say. I'm just saying that as a fan.
That's I was trying to find a kind of way to say it. You just did it for me.
Vladdy was runner-up for MVP, so that's
Yeah,
why I say that.
it's a bit of a different level.
Yeah.
I was gonna. So I don't know all the award days, but I remember him being in some big award conversation this year, even though we were bad. So, I mean, yeah, like
There's levels to
if
this.
Scotty can get on the MVP train, then we
He'd have to get on that.
have that
level,
conversation at that time. But for now, maybe not.
Like,
Yeah, Ochai being a PO.
so
Yeah.
this goes back. Right, go ahead.
This is a great conversation.
Yeah.
This is a good point. And thank you, Will, for joining us. And
Yes,
everyone,
thank you, Will.
Thank
Everybody.
Will, man.
like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff on your way in and out. I've been mentioning this a couple times here and there, just sprinkling it in. And I'm like, Ochai, as they say in, I forget who actually says it, he's all right, but he's not real.
Right.
So it's like Ochai does a really good job of being an overall guy. I think I spoke to someone else, they know who they are, but about how he reminds me a little bit of like a PJ Tucker light. But even within the PJ Tucker comp, he's undersized. So there's limited utility that he can have, and it's like, would he look better on a better team? Probably. Does that mean that he's the perfect guy to keep for the next 3 years? Maybe not. I think Matt, to piggyback off that, there was another comment by Matt, and I think he was asking or suggesting like how many of these guys would be around for like a couple years.
Now you're getting to it now.
That's
Matt.
That's what we're getting at. Is that this team is like do I see Ochai on here when we're in the Eastern Conference Finals next time? Probably not. And that's no shade to it. Just that's the way that the NBA goes. I don't see him and investing in him over other guys between now and then.
But to your point, Kenyon, I think this is one of these things where this, I mentioned to our buddy there, just folks that know in this case, b-ball discussion and fellow Raptor fan in this case here, with Keenan about this just the other day. I said, look, man, it's like when it's all said and done, this is going to provide clarity. And what is happening right now is clarity is what we're getting. So remember a month ago, it was almost seen as blasphemous to actually even consider moving Ochai. It's like as if he was like one of the foundational pieces, like it was like the Rock of Gibraltar. Like, what are we doing here? Davion Mitchell discussions. Like, no, now it's getting clear now. I'm pretty sure if I throw that out there now, folks might be saying, well, maybe you throw him in a deal now. Now that opens up that discussion, which should have been the discussion in the first place. Because to your point, those type of dudes are not going to be here like 2-3 years from now.
And that's not to say we're advocating for it. I don't make these. Some people make these posts like trade, boo this man, right? Like I'm not doing that. I'm just saying like if it's out there.
Well, speak for yourself. I'm advocating for it.
Okay, fair enough.
Ochai would be interesting in a deal only on draft day for me.
Yeah, exactly, Coach.
I'm not touching, not dealing him at the deadline.
Yeah,
I'm not dealing him in the offseason. If it's let's say we fall in the draft, we have the 5th or 6th pick, and I package the pick, and I have to package him to move up to the 3rd pick. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but it's just to say it does.
It's hypothetical, yeah.
You might want to consider that.
I had this discussion, and people were like, "Well, see what Masai could do with the 5th pick, blah blah blah. See what Masai could do with the 4th pick." And what he got Scotty, and I was like, okay, let's have this conversation. The person wasn't ready to have the conversation, but that's okay. And I just basically said this. I said, look, can you imagine if he had the number 1 pick, or if you flip it the other way, if we actually stayed back at 8 or whatever, right? So it's like, if you trust your front office, not saying whether you should or shouldn't trust your front office, but if you do, you want that team to have as many choices available to them because hypothetically they should have the best scouting. Now, do you trust the guy? That's a whole other discussion.
But we had this discussion last year at the draft when they done that with Boucher and the pick that ended up being Walter.
Yes, yeah. Like trying to move Boucher to like move up like 3 spots or whatever,
10th or 12th
to kind of clean the books and move on.
Yeah. But they didn't want to pull the trigger on that. So like I do wonder a little bit, like these guys are perfect for these type of situations. I agree with you, or to add for another deal to help you get something better. But I don't know, like I just don't find this front office to be that nimble. Let's put it that way for these type of things.
I'm just gonna. Why? No, they wouldn't do this. I'm sorry, but Brown will probably not be a defensive player of the year. Smart has been on that level, recently has had like some injury stuff or whatever, but 2 different levels of players.
Hey man, I said that I want a Smart deal or a Fox deal. I want everyone to take the Buckleys, man. We're gonna ride this out and we're gonna sit in this bed and we're gonna watch it and we're gonna take this Buckleys. Okay,
what Jay said.
We'll feel better. We'll be better at the end.
Well, that brings up another thing, right? Was it actually 31 turnovers? I got to look at the stats of this game.
It was 30,
right?
but
we got a basketball rewind. We got to rewind back.
Yo, man, what's up with the hometown, statistician, man? They said 30 on the broadcast, but they gave him one more since then. Damn. Usually your home team helps you out. They take away the turnover.
Actually, it is. So I'm looking. It's 31 turnovers. So we're gonna go through every single turnover, not on screen. We're not gonna do all that.
Oh, please no, please, man. Come on, man.
Do you know what that's?
Could you imagine? Let's just do a film study on all the turnovers.
31 turnovers. Am I doing my math right? Yeah, that's the equivalent almost of 8 turnovers a quarter.
Oh, so this is this speaks to my point about playing the kids, right? Because this is even so funny. It's such a, this TV should write a white paper about this team, okay? Because I tell you, they're like Bizarro Land.
Let's not even talk. Okay, can I just say one thing? You notice how some people they don't talk about box plus minus anymore.
Yes, that's dead.
I'm just looking at it. It's like, damn.
There's a trend that keeps happening each game, pretty much. But I ain't saying nothing more about it. There's a trend that keeps happening. Yeah,
it was positive for a day or two, but
Yeah. I must admit, I am entertained to hear what the spin would be for it, though. If you had to ask me, but that's a whole other thing. But the Bizarro Land thing. So Darko's offense predicated a lot of passing. Fine.
Yes.
The funny part is that this is why I said to play the kids. The kids are the ones that have the skills to pass. Walter's a pretty good passer. Shed's a good passer. Mobo's a good passer. Even Battle shows he ain't half bad. You know who's not good passers at this point here? I ain't really trusted. I'm not sure about Bruce Brown. RJ could be a little flinky in this case here. We see what Scotty can do in this case is hit and miss. I mean, Pirtle, God bless him in this case here. Yeah, but they keep on playing the vets, and those are the guys causing. I bet you when you look at the turnovers, most of them are coming off of them.
Yeah, I agree. Really quickly to address this, he's 24. I agree. He's 24. He's going to be 25 in April to end the season. In terms of keeping the Ute, as they say, and also I'm just more so looking at rookie scale deals and keeping this team very cheap because, as Bill Simmons said, we are an expensive lottery team.
He's not wrong there.
You can't pay everyone, so it's like some of these contracts are coming up soon, and you can't always have everyone like white knuckled on the edge of their seat of will they or won't they every single time they rode. That's why if Ochai was like forget about the age for a second. If he was on a rookie scale contract for another 2 years, not 1, but another 2 years, it's a different situation because it gives you more time to evaluate. Right now, you need time to evaluate, and you need to make those evaluations quickly and then make the decision. You were going to say something.
No, I just want to throw back the point here. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, but and I hear this position a lot online and stuff like that, even amongst conversations we have. Like, if I'm being honest, to the point of 24, in NBA terms, that you're getting that's like middle age you're getting to pretty much, folks. Like, there's not much more room to grow when you get to about 25 years old, as Kenyon mentioned. And the other part too is, if he was a center, I would be more willing to say, you know what? They don't grow those on trees. Let's see how it plays out. When you're a 6'3", 6'4" guard, quite honestly, that's not really that great offensively and mediocre defensively, if we're being honest. You get those at the bargain store. They're all over the place, man.
Will says this.
Well, ninth man, Will. I mean, you're being kind.
So this is actually, and I'm not necessarily going to say that Ochai is the ninth man or whatever. What I will say is this. Do the exercise.
Yes.
Put your Raptors guys, whether it's Davion or whatever, and take them from this squad and drop them on a playoff team. Where would they be playing in that rotation? And that is a very fair way to assess things and look at things. And it basically brings up an interesting conversation from there, right? Would Davion Mitchell on a competitive team, would he crack the third guard? Would he have the same role that he has right now? Right. And we'll keep a focus on this current roster because we've done that with other guys in previous times. Mm-hmm. We'll leave that there. But yeah, the defense is beyond bad. So yeah, back to the turnovers. So yeah, I mean, I'm not going to pick out, but the turnovers were bad. You know what? But then now I feel like now I'm playing favorites, and I'm already depicted as someone who's apparently a hater. I don't know. Okay, so RJ had 3, Ochai had 2, Pirtle had 2. I'm not going to say the assist to turnover ratio because that's just mean for everyone. Grady had 2, Scotty had 8.
We end up with 8?
He ended up with 8. I'm reading it right now. This is the first time I don't always.
Okay, we can't run from this, folks.
Yeah.
Okay,
wait. Shed has 1, Bruce 1. Boucher 1, Kelly 4.
Bets again.
Wow.
And by the way, I count Scotty's a bet
2, okay. Mobo 2, and Garrett Temple, who barely played, had
Garrett got in there too.
Garrett it was a group effort.
Garrett said, "Let me join the party."
Holy smokes!
Before you move on with that individual point. I coached in the game once, the college game. We had 25 turnovers in one game. This is the very first preseason game of the year. Our coach lost it with 25. This is an NBA team at game like 35 of the season. You gave up 31 turnovers. That's disastrous. That's bad.
155 on one game, and then the next night, 31 turnovers.
Yeah.
Glad we're getting healthy.
And the Hawks had 30 assists. The Hawks had almost the same amount of assists as turnovers that we had, and yet they only had less than half the amount of turnovers. 14.
Woo-wee.
That is not winning basketball, folks.
You ideally want to have 12 to 15 turnovers in a game. So what's that roughly 3 to 4 or around?
Yeah,
I can't do math right now. It's like 3 to 4 turnovers a quarter, which still sounds like a little bit, but it's actually not that much. But you have 31, you've double that. That's bad. That's so bad.
It is bad. Well, one final thing before I go back to some of Matt's comments. So Lowry would be a good fit for this team. I've told people this: leave Lowry alone, man. Okay, like leave the man alone. Why do you want to put him through this suffering? Okay,
I love Raptor fandom, man. We always drag him back.
Champion. Why would you want him to go out like that? Right? Just leave the man alone. Leave him alone. Okay.
Well, we have great golf courses, so that could drive him back.
True. but like people would suggesting we trade for Lowry. What is Lowry gonna do? Honestly,
I have no clue.
He's gonna come here and he's gonna retire day one. He's gonna look around and be like, the heck with this. I was actually in, frankly, respectfully, a moderately competitive, situation because of their early injuries. Why the heck would the man who said that he wants to compete for more championships come here? I don't know.
Oh man, I think all these type of questions lead to the same point I said before. Now, I'm not sure everyone on here wanted it, but a fair amount of the Raptor fandom wanted They wanted to clean house,
Yes.
right? And we want in this case here number 4 to be the guy, right? So we're getting a front row view.
So that's good, because the next thing is clarity on Barnes. So I think that this is the number one thing above all. You need clarity on other guys like Jacoby and Grady, et cetera, et cetera. But like, for example, RJ, you kind of know what RJ is. So coming into this year, the number one thing was Barnes, you need to know what he is. What I mean by that, I'm going to use Masai's own terms. Masai, at his presser at the deadline, was asked, I think it was actually William Liu. No, was it William Liu or Eric Kareem? One of those two. They basically asked, like, is Scotty the man? And for you folks who might be there, who might be ready, wait, I'm giving you Masai's words. He said, I'm not sure, but we're going to do everything that we can do to see if he is. Which is fair. That's the right thing to do when you've made that decision. And so right now we're in the finding out stage, if you want to put it that way. And we will find out between now and the end of the season. I know some people are ready to go trade for Fox or something like that, which brings up the next point of this, which is to say some people are like, I'm done. And my whole thing is, whether he is or he isn't, doesn't really matter this year. You want him to have as many reps as possible, grow as much as possible. So whether he is or he isn't, you're better off next year.
Right. And I think it goes back to the exercise you told folks to try in this case here. And this is the way at least I think about it. I think this is how maybe you guys think about it, is that once again, if you're looking at a team that's going to be a 50-plus win team with a chance for a title contention, where does Scotty Barnes sit on that type of pyramid? Right. So if you look at it that way, it's like, okay, he might not be a number 1 guy. He'd be a number 2 guy. Is he a number 3 guy? We're going to start finding out where he slots in at this point. Of what it is. I don't think it's that obvious. I think it's pretty obvious at this point. He's not a number 1 guy at this point. I don't think I'm going and stepping out on a ledge saying so. I wanted to wait one more year. I had my reservations about him being a number 1 guy, but I want to say, you know what? Let's see what it looks like in year 4. Personally, I've seen enough. I don't need to see anymore. I know where I stand with him. And now the question is how to kind of put more slot pieces around to get to the type of team you want. Be it, wherever he fits in that setup in this case at this point. But like, yeah, he's not a number 1 at this point. I don't think that's something crazy to say.
So Matt had said, I don't know if Matt's still here, but Matt said that the warning signs were there. No franchise guy has to be sat down by his boss in his rookie scale contract to get better and grow. This is a bad player. I wouldn't go as far as to say that Barnes is a bad player. I have seen some comments earlier on about attitude and stuff like that. And I think that I think it's appropriate to have a little bit of that discussion. At some point on this channel, I do want to have a discussion about overall NBA discourse, because I think it needs some help these days. Another conversation for another day. In terms of the Barnes discussion, I don't even know where to start. I think the thing is that if we're being honest, it's okay to accept that what he is today might not be what he is in 3 years, but also he's been around for 4 years. So we need to start just talking about what he is today. And what he is today is not a number 1 guy. Not today. Maybe he comes back, goes to the drawing board, as I've said on this channel. I want him to have as much film to go back to the drawing board, and maybe he works on his, sure, there's been minor improvements with his handle and stuff like that, but you need to have a monumental growth in some of these areas. You need to have him have at least a singular move that he can build off of. There's some things that have shown flashes that we've talked about here on Basketball Rewind, like his turnaround jumper from the mid-range, which Darko has moved away from. But you need something to build on. It's like the team. You need something to build on. And currently, he's good at a couple different things, but you can't just be a jack of all trades and a master of none and end up building around that. It's a really tough thing to build around. I know
It is.
I'm probably, some people will say I'm being harsher. Some people are going to say I'm going to be, you know, not harsh enough. I'm trying to be as fair as possible. Before I go that, he said, is he Draymond? I don't want to compare Barnes with any other player. He's not Draymond. Draymond isn't Barnes. There's some things that Barnes has physically that Draymond just won't ever have. And Barnes doesn't shoot like he has a backpack on. But at the same time, Draymond never really has ever had issues with his intensity, except in the other way. He needs to be reined in a bit.
Right.
So,
yeah, my opinion on this today, as you put it, as of today, as a number one option, and you don't want a number one option on a team in the 12th or 13th seed. You want a number one option on a contending team. As we stand today, no, he's not. Could that change in a couple of years? Maybe. We'd have to see. But regardless, if you want to contend in 2 years or 3 years, when I say contend, I mean a top 6 team, top 5 team. You need a number one option. You need a Giannis. You need a Tatum or Brown. You need an Embiid if he's healthy. You know, you need a Donovan Mitchell. Paolo, Paulo and Franz. Like they say what you want about Orlando. They're hurt all the time, and Orlando's winning. Orlando's got a lot more depth and a lot more talent, and that's also helped. They've also had a lot more draft picks over the last few years, and I'm sure the Raptors are trying to build off that blueprint from the guy who they used to have, who probably helped build the blueprint from before.
Yeah, you guys know my theory about Jeff Weltman, and I think he was really the brains behind Vision 6-9, and then he went on and basically did it elsewhere, and left people holding the bag here, basically an empty bag. So, yeah.
I mean, I'll go one step further. I have no problem saying so. I've said it about better players than Scotty Barnes, quite honestly. Scotty Barnes, in my mind, will never be a number one option. Never. And it doesn't mean he can't be a very good number 2 or number 3 option, but he's not going to be number 1. And the reason why I say so is due to a couple of things. One is mindset. I think that's been discussed a little bit. The second part, too, is there's a natural growth process in this case here, and he's kind of run out runway, really, when you look at it in this case here, man. He's year 4. I don't know how about you, man. There's very few options in this case, or number 1 options in this case, that are like just sprout by year 5 and say, hey, everyone goes Giannis. Giannis is an aberration. He's not the norm. Most times the norm is it by year 2. Like, so like this idea, like, it's like, give him a couple more years. He's gonna be like 25 at that point, man. 25 years old, man. You should be hitting your stride at that point, man. For you now to kind of start to figure things out. Unless you were, as I said before, unless you're a Giannis and you came for such raw material in that sense, it's very few players at that level that are number 1 option in this case. And I think, and I said before, I always read it as a Pistons fan. I never forget it. I said this story before. Game 5 against the Hawks. It was the last series that Grant Hill played as a Piston. We got a chance in this case in Game 5 on home court with the game on the line, 2-on-1. Mutombo sitting at the rim. And he had a chance to kind of just crank it on Mutombo and say, I'll take my chances. Instead, he passed it over to, as I said before, a limping, geezing Joe Dumars at that point to shoot a 3. And I'm sitting there going, I called my buddy, who was a Duke man, and said, let me tell you something. He's a fantastic player, great role model, got much love for the player, but he ain't never going to be the dude on this Detroit team. Never. And I said at that point. And I was like, and it doesn't mean Grant Hill didn't make all-star games after that or whatever he didn't do. All I'm saying is the mindset he had, it just told me you're not a number 1 dude. And as I said before, he's a way better player than Scotty Barnes is right now. At any time in his career. I said that about him. So I got no problem saying that about Scotty Barnes. So
this is an interesting transition from there to the next topic, is that I saw someone also say, basically they're talking about the discourse around Scotty Barnes. There's a few things. I think it's okay to critique players. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's become weird with this player specifically. And it's annoying. It really, because it's like you don't feel, you hear it in different commentators in the general media where they're like, they're trying to find a way to like dance around, like,
They place a caveat when they're
it's
about
a good day, Scotty, right?
Yeah.
You said to me, and it's like it's like that, and it's a weird thing. And I'll bring up a perfect example: the OKC game. Was it the OKC game? No, the Spurs game, where the dude left before the end, and they started pulling off. This guy left, and that guy. And first of all, it's like, no, leaving before the end of the game is bad. Number one. Number two, different situations, very different situations. I'm not going to go through all of that, but it was different situations. Number three, this is what the person said. Okay, the person said, "I don't care that Scotty Barnes quit." Not my words, that person's words. And me as a fan of the team, who's apparently not a fan, but me as a fan of the team, I'm not okay with any player quitting. I don't care if you're a champion or not. And currently we have one champion on this roster.
One man.
Right?
From Montreal.
But the fact of the matter is, you should not be quitting on the team. So that's number one. Any player. And it's something that should be corrected as a matter of principles, right? Like, it just don't do that crap. Especially if you are going to be the lead dog, the lead guy, you are now the man, whatever, right? We've had this man talk type of thing for a while with this franchise. Okay, you're now, I'm the captain now. Well, when you're the captain, for example, after the Pistons loss, you should be the one talking, right? After
on top of the last year, after OG got traded,
right?
Last year, yeah.
After the most recent Grizzlies lost, shouldn't be RJ, should be you. To end the season, to speak to the fans, should be the franchise player. That's all I'm saying. So from that standpoint, I'm not here to go and Scotty Barnes, I'm not saying that. In fact, people who have listened through the whole thing and are not being defensive or sensitive or whatever will understand that I've been very fair. And I'm still having hope. And to be honest, if you're mad because someone is saying he could be Chris Webber one day, who is a Hall of Fame player, then maybe you might need to slow up. That's all I'm going to say.
As I said the other day, I wish he was Chris Webber.
Which fair enough, right? I'm just saying, like, when you are doing that type of thing where anything and everything has to be your comparison or the highway or that, and it just ruins the entirety of it's not fun. So again, no one really likes to talk about Scotty Barnes if people haven't recognized that, because it's not fun to talk about him, which actually works counterintuitive, because then his name is not in discussions. And if you want your player to do well from a marketing standpoint, you want him to be in discussions.
Well, that was going to be my point. And I'm not saying this about Scotty, but any player, whether you want to praise him, great. You want to critique him, great. You want to be a bandwagon fan of Scotty or whomever, that's fine. Be careful when we stop talking about you. It's the same thing when you're coaching. Some players will get, oh, my coach is always on me. They always yell at me. Yeah, be careful when they stop speaking to you. That's when you're in trouble. That's when they stop caring.
I'd rather have Scotty inside. Yeah, this is not even okay. Yeah. Like, I'm good. I don't want Zion here. I've joked that we should trade for Zion using IQ, mainly because Zion has not. But like, Zion here is a bad idea. It's a bad idea. This city is a very fun city, okay? And Zion has described his enjoyment from being in the city. And right now, he has been found a lot on the sidelines. And for that reason, I would like to not trade for Zion.
I'll simplify this thing here. Zion's got two major vices, and they're in plenty in this city. I'll just leave it at that.
Yes. We have very good, culinary programs.
Exactly.
Done. Next topic. Next topic. not we are not promoted, Matt. So we are not sponsored by anyone. So I am not saying the last comment that you said. leave it at that. This is really interesting. Raptors are too small. What happens when IQ returns? IQ is not very big either, and so I don't think that it really helps much. From what I saw out of IQ, there hasn't been much synergy between him and Scotty, and there hasn't been much. I don't see him as a really good point guard per se. So as much as there's elements of IQ's game that I think can work and be good, I don't know if he making that money or whatever is going to work here without certain pathways being taken. Yeah.
I have a question for you guys.
Go for it.
Whoever else wants to chime in the chat. Now that we're getting clarity, since that's into the word of the day, it does seem to me that everyone knows we obviously have an issue at center, but it's becoming quite apparent due to IQ not being healthy half the time. Or me.
Sorry, I'm just laughing at Rachel's comment. I'm not going to put it on screen. I said we're not sponsored here, but yeah, it's funny. So I'll let you guys read it. Good point. Good point. Rachel understands why silence is a bad idea.
All I'm just saying is, if you go, be at the center spot, which is the obvious one, but I think we got a point guard problem. And
wait, sorry. Does he mean like Tupac? This is interesting. Okay.
Leave it be, man.
We'll talk after.
I ain't mad at you, man. I ain't mad at you, man. Let's get back to what I'm saying. So the point guard seems to be that's all I did there. Right? The point guard situation is becoming more and more of an issue, right? Scotty has won.
In me. Sorry. Okay, I can't. I'm sorry.
Scotty wanted to play point guard for the longest time. He even had a IT account, for I understand. He's now getting the opportunity to play point guard. Tonight we see 8 turnovers on his ledger, right? You see him in this case here have moments where he's not running the offense in a functional manner. The pace is slowed down numerous times as the lead guard.
Right.
IQ in this case here, to your point, not a natural point guard either. We've seen him hold the ball too much, doing his own thing, and everyone's kind of standing around watching. It does make, when the draft time comes, and you don't say you'll get the obvious pick, number one pick, it does make it interesting. That guard spot for what the point guard is, I think, is becoming more and more apparent. Let's put it that way, man. And folks that want a particular individual that has family used to play here might be very happy about that, scenario that's playing out. I'll just leave it at that.
The Filipino community can rise up potentially.
Wow, I see you, JD.
So we will see about that. But and we can get into draft discussions in a little bit. I think the interesting thing though is that yes, so Scotty does need these reps for offensive initiation. Yes, Scotty played point guard at FSU. He did do a little bit of it at Mount Verde, but really there was more Cade doing the point guard stuff. I don't really remember what he did on the U.S. Olympic team. I'm not trying to say that in a weird way. I just say I didn't watch those U.S. U19 Olympic games.
You're doing the thing, you see?
Yeah. I am doing the thing. I am doing the thing. But what I am going to say is, at an NBA level, it ain't it. Not right now. And I don't know if we will be afforded another 3 years or 2 years to see if this is a thing. So I think whatever happens this year, you get all the reps you can. That will help him moving forward. But I think it brings into question an interesting thing for me. You get Cooper Flagg, right? if you're the number one pick, I know who I want as number one, right? I've already decided. Might change. Long time between now and the draft. But is there a world where you do take Dylan Harper, number one? Because of what you just described.
There is a. Go ahead, Coach. Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's Flag. You just if he's there number one, you just take him. Harper's number two. I think with Flag, you got to look at the versatility, the upside, just where he is 6'9", 6'10", especially if he grows more too. I don't think you could go wrong if you were to take Harper number one. I think that's quite a bold move to do, but I think with Flag's versatility, I just think two-way wings win championships. I'm not really saying I'm not saying he's Kawhi or he's Giannis, but when he can play both ends of the floor and he's taller than Kawhi. So again, two-way guys win championships.
They do.
I look at it.
I'm behind on the comments, so I'm sorry, guys. First of all, welcome, Boardman Gets Paid podcast.
Hey,
shout out
Andre.
to you. It's good to see you. Obviously, anyone, you could feel free to not overly plug yourself, but if you have a thing, for sure, check out his stuff. They have some leaders of the community there. Tongue-in-cheek joke, don't worry about it. But in all seriousness, though, he's doing his thing and he's putting out content. So check him out. What's up, guys? How did you like our boy Bruce Brown today? I thought Bruce Brown played well. I don't think that he's going to have enough time to play well enough to get into a trade, but I thought he played well. I was not surprised by Bruce Brown. We came into the year thinking that Bruce Brown is probably one of the top 4 guys on this roster. Like, in terms of when everything's healthy and everything's going, he's like a top 4 guy in terms of talent, making the ball move and stuff like that. But he's not a long-term guy here. So I thought it was good. Dylan Harper, I'll let JD answer that in his own comments. Let's see, Flag for the thing. Would you trade down? No, I wouldn't. Absolutely not. If you have the number 1 pick, you're not trading down. No. Sorry. I don't know if you guys would trade down.
No, if you had number 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah.
No.
Even 4, I would lean against it.
If you get 6, for example, and you know your guy's going to be there at 8, and you could get maybe another future pick, I consider it then.
Yeah. I know what you're up to, Coach. I kind of like your thinking if you get there. I'm with you.
If you trade down and still get Harper, just draft the guy, man. If you think Flag is the guy or you think Harper's the guy, you have the number
Harper's
1 pick.
Not going past 3, man. I just
like that's the other thing too. It's like there might be another team. Say it's Utah, right? Utah might just say, you know what? No, we're good. Why are we trading back with you? So just take your guy. I mean, if it's one thing if your guy is like, if the draft is flat, the talent level is flat, and you're like, you know what? I'll just I'll trade back and I'll get my guy or risk getting my guy or whatever. In that case, fine. Well, when you have the number 1 pick, you usually don't see trade backs from that. You do see trades. Shout out to the Kevin Love trade. I don't think we're in a position to do that type of trade right now. And I don't see anything like that. But I just think you just take your guy and go. And don't worry, Andre. Yeah, no, you're good. So yeah.
Hey, I see Andre's going to comment. I'm Jamaican and I want VJ.
He wants VJ. I did see that. Yes.
VJ.
Yes. So VJ is one of the guys we've talked about it on the most recent episode of Draft Talk. Definitely check that out. Are we taking any callers? We discussed it before. Sure. Beyond and I did. We were unsure because we were unsure of. We were a little afraid of who might come up. So I don't know. You guys can tell me what your guys' thoughts
Take a few calls. Go ahead.
Yeah, why not?
Go ahead. It seems like friendly. It's friendly fire tonight.
Yeah. Well, we'll open it up. I will say, guys, please, if you're here, watch the language. and we'll keep the call short because I don't know how long Coach and beyond. I'm taking up their time too, so I want to be respectful of everyone's time.
I'm good.
We will take one call at a time, so it's just not, I don't want like 6 people, so one call at a time, and we're gonna open things up. So if you feel comfortable, come up. And before I get to that, there's one other thing. James, I think, left a message before. There we go. Masai needs to trade those players as soon as possible, even if he gets only second round picks. He waits too long. We may get stuck with these players. This is an interesting point. I do think that is the case, that it could happen. But because of the contracts that guys are on, it might end up being better to let guys just walk. And then I saw a comment about Trey Johnson. I have to do a deeper dive on Trey Johnson. I did recently. I do like parts and elements of his game. I do think he's a decent defender. He's interesting because there's a discussion about him and VJ Edgecombe that we could potentially have coming forward. And I know Tyler Rucker is going to be coming at some point very soon, probably after the Celtics game. Wink, wink, just so you know. So, stay tuned for that. So maybe that's a perfect time for us to ask that type of question. So, yeah. High-end 3 guard. I don't know. Oh, 2 guard. Yeah, he could. The thing, though, I will say is that in the top 3 of this draft, for sure, I don't want to select someone who could just be a top level. I want, like, the best of the best. You're looking to raise both the ceiling and ideally the floor of this team. Okay. Yeah, I'll just leave that. Okay. So, yeah, I'm not seeing anyone come up. We will leave the.
Come on up, Andre. I think you asked about it.
I'll pin it here. So if you want to come through. And feel free to come through.
I'm assuming it's you, Andre.
Andre,
if it's not,
I think it's safe to say yes.
This is true. Yeah, never know. I'm not even going to name any names. It might be the wrong person pops up. Hello. You're like, snap.
Going back to the point, I think it's James and
Twitch. No, I'm just kidding.
That James mentioned about the contracts. I don't think to your point. I don't think there's anything wrong with just letting them just walk at the end of the season, man. I think we need to I think the problem we get into sometimes when we make these trades, we think about the picks, but then we sometimes don't think about, okay, we get another player that we don't really want. And then we go through the whole cycle all over again, whereas we got a guy we're playing that we don't really want to have on the team. At some point, you just got to clean the books. It's like, okay, you walk, and then we get the guys in the slots we want. And I think that's the problem we've had for the last 3-4 years. We've got a bunch of guys all the time on here that we just keep trading and cycling guys in trades that we're just playing guys just for the sake of playing them because we traded for them.
We will, too. I think Brown's making $23 million this year. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Boucher's making 10 right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's 33. Davion's making 6.5. It's around 40-ish. Mm-hmm. Who else am I'm missing somebody else here? Maybe there's just those 3.
I think those 3 are coming off the books this year. Yeah.
Okay, so you're looking at about $40 million. Bruno's he's not coming. I know Scotty's getting a huge pay raise. He's going from like the rookie scale of 11 to 12. I think that he's making to 35 next year. So that's a $22 million pay raise, basically.
And just I will get to the calls in just a second. I just saw a couple last minute things come up, so I'm just gonna get to those comments. Then we'll bring up Andre, you came first, so we'll go to you first, and then we'll go to Matt second. We'll do it one at a time. But yeah, really quickly. Here we go. So they need wings in the town. 100%. They need a lot of everything, but wings could be useful. That's why we wanted Tristan De Silva. But that's okay. We're perfectly happy with Jacoby Walter. We were happy then, and we're happy now. There was no crying on this show. In fact, we weren't even on the show.
I only cried last year. We didn't get GG, but carry on.
Is it too early for it's true? Yes, we shed a tear.
I had big tears, but go on.
Is it too early for free agency talk? Yes. First of all,
We didn't get the trade talk yet.
we got to make it to February. It's coming. It's coming.
We ain't even January yet.
We are not in January officially yet. In terms of Santi Aldama, I keep hearing that name. I'm sorry, but like Memphis is not going to let Santi Aldama go. Also, he is a restricted free agent, so they have the rights to match. So absolutely not. I think we just have to let certain ideas and dreams die, and it's gone. Dayron Sharp, interesting. But again, if I'm not mistaken, they have restricted free agency rights, so I don't really see that happening. Okay, let's get Andre, and we have Matt, and then Matt. I don't know if these are Matt joining twice or not, but yeah. Andre, how are you doing?
What's up, guys? You guys are the best.
From the Board Man Podcast.
Okay, how are you doing? How are you doing, Matt?
I'm doing well, just a little under the weather, a little cough here.
Okay.
But I've been watching this game, and I don't know if you see on Twitter, everyone is turning on Darko. And everyone's like, yo, Mike Brown got fired. Darko is still here. Let's get Mike Brown. And I'm under the impression that we should just keep him because he's staying the course right now. He's doing his thing. He's doing his thing, right?
Andre.
Yeah, you had me worried. You had me worried for a second.
Mike Brown, no.
Yeah, I was like, first of all, Mike Brown is not coming here for a downgrade of a job that he might, yeah. Second of all, I have also heard of people suggesting that we hire Mike Brown as a supervisor.
You guys killed me for that last year. You remember I was like, we should bring in a coach to mentor him.
Well, there's one other element to this, guys, that you guys haven't considered yet.
Too late for that. Yeah.
There's one other element to consider from the Raptors' perspective. You don't want to actually hire anyone now because if you get the first pick overall, everybody wants this job.
Everybody.
Yes.
Everybody.
Right? So,
yes.
All of a sudden, you're the prettiest girl at the prom. All of a sudden, it's like everybody wants to dance with you.
We get Cooper, and everyone's like, "Hey,
how you doing, How you doing?"
That is true. And there is something to that where it's like if you see a talent that you think that could be great as a coach, there's something tantalizing. So while Pop's job has not been in jeopardy, the second that you got Wemby, I'm sure that many of his assistants, that's when you heard the rumblings. It's like Pop might retire, and it's like the dude's still in the chair.
But this was brought up though, Andre. A friend of mine brought it up earlier about Mike Brown. He said, "Would you take Mike Brown next year?" I didn't really answer that part. All I said was, "I'll put it to you this way: I'm very concerned if this staff is coaching Cooper Flagg next year, or Dylan Harper, or Ace Bailey."
So
that concerns me.
Like you, Coach, I'm on that impression as well. One of the things you guys talked about, at least the staff's talked about, is that this is development year, and I'm like, if we are developing these players, like kudos to Darko with Ochai, Grady, all those different players, right? Kudos, right? But at the same time, look at our defensive scheme. Look at our offensive scheme. If he's not training these guys to run specific offenses, like I saw a play today where Scotty had a really good defender on him. He's on the wing. Send a goddamn pick for him. No, they don't do that. They don't do that. No, we're not doing that. That is not 0.5 offense. No, you see a guy, you take advantage. Why don't we take advantage of mismatches? Why don't we swing the ball? Why don't we do any ISO? It's not that I'm mad about ISOs and we need to do ISOs all the time, but you can mix it up a bit. You can run plays. So anyways, and I don't know. I don't know what else to say, but I'd love to ask you guys this question. I know Matt and whoever's on the other line. Defensively, how do you fix this team defensively? Not the personnel. When you think about the defense, because I think it's positioning. Like there's things like backdoor cuts, 3-point line. It's in my mind. I'm not a coach, so I don't understand how do you teach people how to defend the 3-point line. I think the reason why they're allowing those little things is because they're playing the percentages. So how do you fix this team defensively without changing the personnel?
You don't.
That's my question. Damn it! I needed you guys. Come on.
You got a crack at this one, Coach?
Well, you just watch the rotations tonight. The rotations are poor. The defensive transition, I said earlier, and I think Samson did make this point. It was a good stat the first of the year, and it's been a terrible stat the last 3 weeks. Part of it is personnel. Like, you got to have some good players really to play defense. But last time I checked, Nick Nurse didn't have the best players, and they were always like a top 12, 15 defense, even when the team wasn't that good.
So I'll throw out something here. There's Darko in this case is an interesting fella because we always talk about how much he's invested in the offense, and he doesn't show as much interest, it seems like, in my mind, on the defensive side. But even with the roster he has, I put it this way. He can find ways in this case to make sure he doesn't automatically switch on soft switches. I just see two guys here. Say a guy comes across here. It happened a couple times with Atlanta. Ricochet or someone said a pick, and the pick's not any real pick in this case here. Like,
what's his name? Ran into the other player, Grady.
If Grady's on Ricochet and Scott and whoever it is, I say it's Jacoby Walters playing Trey, right? They want to get Grady. They want to get Grady to match up with Trey. The switch in this case here, fight over the screen, man. Like, stop just giving up the switch automatically, and then you got Grady on Island, Trey Young. Like that would be helpful. Like, that's just one thing, but they are automatically switching, and we don't have the personnel that we just automatically switch. We just automatically switch on the Kelly Olynyk. Like, really, we're doing that?
Well, they were going under screens on Trey Young. Nobody does that. You don't go under screens on him when he's rolling and he's shooting threes from 35 feet out. You got to go over top. You got to switch. Everything should be switching on Trey Young. You make the other guys play, especially when he's rolling.
But coach, tell me this: was that personnel or was that coaching? Because I think that's coaching or communication.
That's communication.
Communication. I think it is more to do with coaching because the fact is we had different personnel last year and we saw a lot of the same things. Like, that's the thing for the folks that want to rep Darko. It's hard to actually have him as like, hey, you know what? It's the personnel. Well, you had a guy who was a defensive, all defensive team last year. You had another guy that's always, for a lot of his career, hovering around all defensive stuff and is a great two-way guy as wings. You had the same Pirtle, who looked a lot better the year before. So what happened, right? Like, Shooter, whatever you want to say about Shooter, Shooter's a pretty good point of attack guard. He's a lot better than the IQ in that sense. So whatever you want to say from a defensive standpoint, he had defensive talent last year, and we played defense for about 2 weeks, and it all went to where after.
Yeah, we started off playing decent defense overall, and then it just like by game 3, it's just like the dam broke, right? So, so yeah, it's just one of those things. I do think that there are things that they could do. I would, so I don't sound redundant with the other two. I would say that there's a lack of communication on switching. There's a lack of communication in general. So I am kind of piggybacking off the communication part, but especially in transition, I just see guys pointing. Everyone's pointing. You take this man, but no one knows who they're taking, and you kind of should be knowing that. Boxing out, like, just there's simple fundamental things. Part of it is coaching. Yes, some of it is you have bad personnel, but if you're a really good developmental coach, you should be good at developing both sides of the floor. Simple as that. But Andre, I've had Matt left, I guess, or I'm not sure if it was Keenan or Matt, but I think he left for now, so we will go. But
can I say one last thing? And then
yeah.
I'll jump. Okay, so yesterday I was on the pod. Me and my friend were talking, and we talked about this clip that came up by a fan. That was that time when Darko went nuts, right? And what I saw in that video was Chris Boucher going up, getting hit. I guess he felt he got hit or fouled, and he sat on the ground complaining. And he slow jogged all the way up, and then Memphis hit a layup, and then Darko came out. My question to you is, how is it that we're developing these young players with vets that don't even put enough effort on the floor, especially, yes, Chris Boucher, we always see him doing the effort thing. But some of the things, like in his mind, I don't know what he's doing, but you see your vet jogging up the court after a missed call. How is a young player supposed to go, that's the way I should act? Because it was a little microcosm of what is kind of going on with the team. The vets are not pulling their weight. They're coming out here playing nonchalant, yet they're getting minutes. So I'd love for you guys to talk about that, and then I'll jump when you guys are ready to live.
Yeah. So the first thing is, from my standpoint, Chris Boucher gets cussed out enough already, right? I mean, we start off the year, the coach literally publicly said that he is treating the man as a rookie. This is say what you want about Chris Boucher. I have my issues with sometimes the brain farts that occur on the floor and stuff like that. Sure. But at the same time, the man won an NBA championship. And no offense to Darko is not an NBA champion, right? And that has to count for something, some level of respect. And so, sure, there's a meeting of the minds. They got better in terms of their kumbaya moment or whatever in Spain or wherever the heck it was. I don't care. Point is that right now, it's just, there's only so much you can yell at Boucher for, right? Like, there's only so much. And there's other guys that are quote unquote in the trenches that accountability has to come from top to bottom. It has to be for everyone. Can't just be Chris Boucher has a bad thing and he's the equivalent of Danny Green, Pop's whipping boy. As I said before on this channel, and I'll continue to say, you coach through, usually the best coaches are coaching through their best players, right? So Pop coached through Tim Duncan. Right. And that's what you have to do. It has to start from the top. It has to be equivalent. I'm not here to argue whether or not he's ever yelled at Barnes or whatever. It just, at some level, that's what you need to see without hyper focusing on that.
And Will, we called this out too. Yeah. Last game. No, sorry, it was the New York game. He was talking about accountability, how.
And Houston game too. When he wasn't.
Maybe it was the Houston game, actually.
Yeah. It was. Told him you should bench him.
Yeah, he was talking about Scotty, I think, but he was in reference to like Jacoby or Battle or Mobo. They were getting benched for something, yet Scotty or someone was making some big time mistakes up there, but they were not getting benched. That's the accountability aspect that just doesn't quite seem to ring through the whole team, right? The leaders are treated differently when it just comes to accountability on the court than it would be for the rookies. That's a tough thing to manage, even as a coach it is, but at the same time, accountability matters on a team.
Yeah. And again, it's like, before Beyond goes, I'll just say, it's not all on Darko, right? This is someone who I've been quite critical of Darko, but I'm also saying, like, as a nuanced discussion, we have to look at not just Darko, but we have to look at everything. And Darko's working with a bad puzzle, from a garage sale that was from like some moldy garage sale. And so you can't put it all on Darko. But also on the flip side, there are things that he has to get better at. I guess he didn't preemptively use his challenge today. Fair enough. Great. That is an improvement. There are things that he has actually improved on as well. I think he actually has overall done a better job of creating game plans at some level until recently, because the last 3 games has been pretty bad because we've literally had 430 points allowed over a 3-game schedule, which is apparently the most allowed in the NBA since Denver in 91. So recently, not so great. The development has stalled, but maybe we can get back to that. But yeah, Beyond, I'll let you have your say, and then we'll see if JD wants to come up, and then if not, we'll keep it moving. But thanks, Andre, for coming up. Beyond, your final thoughts on this.
I just think right now, like, I'll just take a more holistic view of it. I mentioned this to you guys on or off the court. I think Andre's been in spaces where I mentioned this. When you have a team like this, at some point the will's going to be broken, right? And it doesn't happen when the dam breaks. It doesn't happen just like we say so now, but more I think about it, the breadcrumbs were there all along. When you lose so many games, so many close games early, especially as a young team, and you're trusting the coaching staff, they'll get you over the hump in those late game situations, and it doesn't come to fruition, at some point the team starts losing trust in the coaching staff. It's like, okay, we put you in a position, get us over the finish line, and coach could relate to this case here. And then you told us we did all these things, and yet somehow every night we're coming up on the short end when the games are that close. And at some point, doesn't matter what sport it is, at some point it eats and it eats and it eats at the players, and then the dam breaks. The other element of it that's creating this dynamic as well too is that, take the young guys, for example. Young guys are working their tails off. I said before, the young guys are actually a more competitive squad than the one we got here. But in this case here, coaches want to trust vets. Vets is what they want to trust. And all the young guys are probably sitting here wondering, like, okay, you're trusting the vets. The vets are now playing all these minutes now. And now we're getting lit up by 30 every night. And, and we're the ones getting benched when we don't do something right. Yet these vets are out here getting lit up like Christmas trees every night.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And the dynamic starts to play out at some point where it's like, you know what? I know what you told me before, coach, but you know what? I ain't buying. I ain't reading that hymn book anymore because I see what you're doing to these guys over here. Forget that. So guys start cutting off plays on offense. Guys in this case here may not hustle back for something anymore because it makes some other guy look good who should have been doing it. That's what starts happening, and that's how you end up getting 155 points put on you. That's what's happening, in my opinion.
That's spot on, though, because
this comment it goes right to that, Coach. You were saying,
Bingo.
If you're Pop, if you're Spoelstra, if you're Larry Brown, it doesn't matter if you don't have buy-in from the players. Good luck, because you could have a great roster. They don't buy in, forget it. Now do that with a poor roster. Right. The players, like you said, when losing sets in, man, it sucks when you're a player or you're a coach and it really sets in. And then, like you said, you start trusting your vets. But the problem is, like, it's hard to play Kelly Olynyk and Boucher right now, especially Kelly. Like
Kelly
it's rough.
I feel like Mobo has lost his confidence too. I think Mobo has lost it.
I honestly, yeah.
I don't think he ever had it, but
exactly. That's the problem, Mobo. Yeah. I think of all the rookies right now, he's probably the furthest behind the four of them that do get playing in the minutes.
Yeah, because he never looks at the rim since day one.
Never looks at the rim unless it's a 3-point shot where he's wide open. Exactly. Like it's a fascinating of modern basketball. It's a fascinating experiment to watch a guy never looks at the rim inside the 3-point line, but the only time he looks at the rim is when he's outside the 3-point line. I've never seen anything quite like it.
Yeah.
But
it's a new type of player, right?
It would seem so. That's a great way of phrasing it. Yeah,
that's one way to put it.
Guys, I really want to thank you. And
of course.
I love this kind of setup. So anytime you guys do this, I'm supporting. All right, guys.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Enjoy, Andre, and take care.
Thank you, Andre.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
And feel better.
Man, gets paid podcast, folks, man.
Hey,
check it
we
out
got it
today.
Yes. Yeah. So if you want to put Andre, if you want to put your just one tag in the comments, I can put it up screen right now. That's great. Thanks for joining.
JD, man, JD up here, man. Good boy, I love JD.
I think he's at the gym.
Yeah, he might not be able to go. But JD, if you are able to go, it'd be great to have you up. If not, hey, JD, I know that JD will be back.
JD, are you allowed to be on camera at this point? I'm just wondering, depending on what you have to say, I'm just not sure. Or you're on undisclosed location, where you have to black out your face and kind of like put auto tune on you so they don't know it's you.
Exactly.
Oh man!
I see Will's asked an interesting question. Wonder if there's a 905 stint for Mobo soon. It's not a bad idea, honestly. Get his confidence up.
Absolutely. Okay. I think it's one of those things where if you're not going to play him on a regular basis, right? You need to get him his confidence. Anyways, okay, got it. He can't join. JD is not able. He's at undisclosed. He's at Area 51.
But this point here, Will's mentioning here, and it goes back to Andre's point about the personnel with the defense. There's still answers here for Darko if he wants to do it, but this goes back to what Coach is talking about, right? When you kind of put your faith into certain players and thou shalt not cross that line, we've said here, Bruno Fernando's given them good minutes in the last month, right? So to solve the issue of having a big man in this case that can actually defend the rim a little bit, put a little pressure on the rim from an offensive perspective, Bruno can do that right now and give you a little defense perhaps that we know that Kelly can't give. And from the standpoint, take up the minutes Mobo had. But what is happening now? Bruno's sitting on the pine there with Darko. He's not to be seen. And, you're a guy at Bruno who's quite honestly played better than both in the last month. Like he's not getting any time at all.
Yeah. And I think people mistake it because I've heard this conversation before a little, not from us, but and people think you're trying to be a huge advocate for Bruno. You're not. What you're saying is play what makes sense. So when you have Zach Edey, right, and Kelly Olynyk is getting chewed up because he's going to get chewed up, then maybe playing more of Mobo, who is smaller,
Right.
doesn't make sense when Mobo is literally going to look like a little kid next to him.
Right.
I'm not. It's just yeah.
No, it's true. Like,
Bruno
Bruno was a
is
physical player. He could push him out the
Bruno's
lane.
hurt. If Bruno's hurt, then why is he dressed?
Well, he wasn't dressed today.
He wasn't dressed today. Oh, okay.
Or the last
'Cause
two games he
Bruce
has.
Brown's back. That's why he's not dressed.
that
No, I think
Is
he
it?
should. But I mean, Tyler was on our show last year, and he said, "You guys are playing Kelly Olynyk at center. You got to be Tank."
We know
I
that.
said, "No, Tyler. We playing him at center, and we don't have our pick."
Like I've just had people try to convince me that Kelly is a center, and I'm like, I've watched this man's career. He is not a center. They have tried this multiple times. He's not a center. It's like Nurse figured out during the Tampa season that Boucher was not a center. I said the same thing. That's why we had to sign Freddie Gillespie?
Yes.
And trade for Kemp Birch on like one knee, and people were like, yeah.
Freddie,
Like,
my man Freddie.
And then Darko comes and is like, all right, we're gonna try Boucher at center. It's like, why? Why are we doing this? Why are we have answered this question? Okay. Talk to to Alozam or whatever the heck the guy's name is. Check the the synergy account. He's not a center. Okay? He's not a center.
Oh man.
We have had an interesting, I guess, year and a half as a Raptor fan base, from Rico cases to like a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, but on a serious note here, man, for those that are listening to sound my voice when this gets posted, for the Raptor fans, the ones that agree with me, the ones that don't that disagree with me, I will say this to you as a PSA, man: relax, find a hobby, enjoy your time if you have children, whatever the case may be, because the next month is going to be rough, folks. It's going to be rough, and if you're at this stage right now, for your own well-being and peace of mind, find some other thing to do. Pick up another team. Find another sport to watch for a little while just to kind of take your mind off it. Because it ain't going to be pretty in January, folks. If you ain't built for it. It ain't going to be pretty.
Now, I do want to have a disclaimer. For us, again, critique is fine. Coach, player, whatever, fine. I would suggest people don't be hyperbolic. No need for ad hominems. No need to say this dude is a bum or trash publicly, and that's not nice. Don't.
That's the funny part. We've never said that about any player in this game.
We haven't.
I've never.
I don't think I've ever said that about like the coach, or like the coach is mentally ill or something like
that. I mean, I have a dear fondness for Darko. I refer to it as my secret weapon. I mean, I have a fondness for Darko.
Well, that's that too. But I mean, it's just like, yeah. So I just feel like, that's not necessary. No. But there's a way to have a nuanced discussion about this stuff, and I really hope that people, start to do that more. I guess
I go at Pat. Like, I know I probably shouldn't, but
it's fine. No, he has a job.
No, but coach.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, but coach, I've never seen you say like some nastiness about.
No. Yeah. I just mean like, okay, with Darko, at least Darko came from Memphis, Phoenix, OKC. Like he's been with Billy Donovan, Scott Brooks, Taylor Jenkins, Monty Williams. Like, these are some pretty good coaches.
Yeah.
No offense to Pat, but Charlotte and Washington, and you're the defensive specialist there. It's I'm sorry. It's just like you don't give me much. You don't give me much
on that.
We don't have much hope for our defense if that's what we're relying on.
Because we looked, I remember when it's like Pat Lee is the defensive coordinator, and we looked at the resume, and we're like, oh man, this resume ain't too good.
Jama was in Golden State for 3 years, right?
Like,
pretty safe bet that your offense might look a little bit better.
Like when the man came up after the game, because I guess Darko was too heated. He said, we have standards. I was like, okay. Well, on that note, I think that's kind of a pod. I hope that things get better in one way, shape, or form. I actually do hope that we continue to play the young guys, because I have a sneaking suspicion that you're right, beyond that we're going to start playing more vets, and it would be a real shame, because the one thing that I want Darko to do, and that would make me very happy, and I will not complain at all. I don't complain when he plays the young guys. I don't care if the system is good or whatever. And the main thing that if in terms of the offensive system, just like if a guy's cooking, if Grady's cooking, right, and Grady is part of your future, then like you should make sure that the ball goes back to Grady. Last year, more so, just because Scotty didn't have as much attention on him from an offensive standpoint until later on, but he still was high up on the pecking order. I could say the same thing. It's like there was games where Scotty would be cooking. It's like he'd pull Scotty. It's like, don't do that. So it's not about, oh well, I like Grady over this. No, I'm saying if a young kid is cooking, right, and he is not in foul trouble, let him play through the mistakes.
Yeah. I think the thing to watch for, I guess, is one thing to watch for, and I checked it tonight. Just watch the Bruce Brown versus Jacoby Walter minutes. Bruce Brown had 19 tonight. Walter had 18. I want to see what the delta looks like about a week from now.
Yeah. I agree with this to an extent, but at the same time, it's a delicate balance because you have to know whether or not your front office is going to make those trades or not and is serious about that. You can't let it drag on forever because then it starts eating into guys' minutes and you risk actually losing the locker room as we were talking about. Because then you're looking at it as a young guy and you're like, I'm making the same stuff. I'm doing the same stuff as the vets. I might actually be doing things better than the vets. This is just how young players sometimes feel and work. Whether it's true or not doesn't matter. And I'm getting excoriated for that. So yeah, it's risky.
More vets have come back. The defense has gotten worse. Just a fact.
This would be interesting, right? Because one of the most interesting lineups we saw was Scotty, Grady, Jacoby. You know what I mean? Like it was basically vets. And then I would just swap in and out RJ right now with Scotty here and there and just see like what happens. Just see what happens. That's very interesting to me. Sorry, I'm just kind of going back. Andre's talking about some sort of fight that happened. So I got to catch up on those type of things. Fair enough. This is something I don't agree with. I don't think he's ready for prime time. The dude clanked the thing off the he didn't even hit like the rim, dude. So I think
what is it called? He's the opposite of the human cigar when you end up losing.
I'm as a Shamshay supporter, I too don't want to see him for another year and a half playing.
He's not ready, and
no,
there's a debate to have on that. Maybe later on in the season, fair enough. But right now, you need as many reps with as many high contextual moments where things make sense for guys to also rip out the Band-Aid of any potential, excuse that you might have for other players. So I don't want to say, oh, well, these players were playing with Chomchi and Chomchi was dragging them down as an excuse for anyone. No,
Chomchi's for March, man. Don't worry about it.
He'll get his big. You will see Chomchi more than likely, but Chomchi's time is not yet.
I just want to see him start in Summer League next year.
Yes.
Hey, Summer League could be pretty darn good for us.
It will be.
Oh yeah, Jacoby will probably play. Usually, you see the second-year player, so Jacoby will play, Shed will play, Bobo will play, and then you might. We all talk. If something happens for me, I might be able to have more bandwidth to go, and we should. When is Summer League?
In July. That first week of July.
I'll know by then. Even if it's the last minute, we might have to basketball rewind on the road. That's all I'm gonna say. So
I'll be feeling patriotic.
Yes. Yes.
I love the state of Maine.
I do too, actually. I think that's a pod. What do you guys think?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay. We invited a few other people, but they are predisposed, as we've been told. So, like, comment, and subscribe, people. Summer, it would be nice. Like, comment, subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, this isn't about killing one person or another. It's about the overall state of where we are. Did I buy what is this? Did I buy a Powerball? Yeah, not yet. But the Powerball, I have heard it is up. I've heard it's like something like $1 billion or something. So, this might not. This might not be the worst idea. This might not be the worst idea. So yeah. But yeah, anyways, like, comment, subscribe. Hope everyone's good. Hope Darko keeps playing the young guys. I hope Scotty keeps progressing. As he is progressing, I hope if everyone remains as healthy as possible. And I'm looking forward to this week in basketball for both the league wide and otherwise. One thing, preview. We're gonna be doing more draft content. We didn't get to it today, but you will see more draft content as we go along. So stay tuned for draft content. If you have any particular person that you want us to cover, say it down below. We'll try to do it. And we're going to probably slow our draft content down a little bit and kind of do one player at a time. So stay tuned. We are slowly making our way through the first round. I don't think we're going to cover everyone we'd ever do, but we're going to kind of still make our way through a couple extra guys. And we're also going to talk about, for example, VJ versus Trey Johnson. That is an interesting conversation that I think we should have. What do you do? The Portland, as Daniel Frank is asking about, the Portland pick options. That's something that we're going to talk about. We're not at the second round yet. We're not there yet, but we will get there.
Jeremiah Fears.
Yes. So
Yes.
Bring the fears.
Yes. Thank you, James. Love everyone's support. And again, hope everyone's good. And that is a pod. It's like been 2 hours almost. So, break it up into parts, people. And take care. Be safe. And enjoy the New Year's, people. And definitely be safe on New Year's.
Yes.
Peace.